Obviously, everyone's mind has been on Putin's invasion of Ukraine. And clearly, there's not much that I could meaningfully add to everything that's been written and said about what's going on. But I also felt that it would be absurd not to say anything on this channel about such an awful and massive geopolitical event, especially as it has such urgent and serious implications for global political dialogue. At a basic level, I obviously just want to express my solidarity with the people of Ukraine. In the 3 weeks since Putin's army invaded Ukraine, it's been heartbreaking to see millions of people's lives upended and changed forever. Thousands have been killed and many more thousands injured horrifically. The fighting, such as in Mariupol, is horrific. And yet, as I record this, Kyiv still stands. Zelensky and his government are still in power. And it's also been humbling and indeed inspiring to see so many Ukrainians proudly following Zelensky's lead to stay and fight for their country's independence, for their democracy. And while tragically there have been many horrific wars around the world in recent years, this invasion has clearly sparked a much deeper challenge to the geopolitical status quo. It feels as if Zelensky and the people of Ukraine's fight for their right to self-determination is the fulcrum on which all of our futures hinge. If Putin wins his war of aggression, it may embolden others who wish to violently challenge the current world order and forcefully take control of territory or resources that currently belong to others. And while there are many, many ways to criticize the current global institutions and hegemonic power of the USA, so much that does need to change, it would be a disaster if we entered into a new age of territorial wars. At the most obvious level, it is the lives of millions of ordinary folk that are completely ruined by the horrific violence of war. Even if they're not wounded or killed directly, their homes, businesses, towns and cities are completely destroyed. Independent, proud people who are building their life together with their friends and family get instantly transformed into fleeing refugees with so little control over what happens to them next. Almost all agency is stripped from them beyond the need to flee and survive. It has been so heart-wrenching to see this transformation unfold for millions of people in Ukraine who just a few long weeks ago were going about their ordinary lives. And of course, this destruction of dignified agency has also happened to millions of people in Syria and Yemen, and on and on and on. And on top of this individual horror, war is also a disastrous waste of effort and resources. It may seem like an odd time to be mentioning environmental issues, but the physics of climate change doesn't care if we're busy slaughtering each other. Even before Putin's invasion of Ukraine, it felt like humanity only had a slim chance of organizing the global coordination, innovation, and investments necessary to transition to a sustainable political economy. But if we're all fighting each other for the last scraps of oil and gas and other resources, then we have no chance. We should be spending our limited time and money and resources on global collaboration to build a set of sustainable societies around the planet, not on building weapons of war. And yet Putin's actions have shifted everyone's mindset back into worrying about surviving in a violent zero-sum world. Putin has reminded us all that we do, unfortunately, still need some defensive military capabilities. We can't be unilaterally naive about the world. But it is such a waste. And armies run on oil, not on solar or wind power. So to keep the armies fueled, you need a functioning oil industry. So a mentality that worries about war, worries about continued access to cheap oil, and will try to argue that any concerns about climate change will have to wait. But if even half the predictions of climate change come true, then in the next decades we could see many more millions of people's lives transformed into destitute climate refugees. So all of the ordinary folk around the world who just want to live a peaceful, meaningful life contributing to their society, all of us have many shared reasons to avoid the horrors of war being unleashed on anyone, anywhere. We all have common cause with Ukrainians, Russians, Chinese, Indians, Africans, Europeans, Americans, all the people of the world, to find a way to live together sustainably on our planet. And an essential part of that is we need to have a common urgency to de-escalate any tensions that might give political leaders cause to rattle the sabres of war. And fundamentally, wars are a failure of political dialogue, a choice to stop talking and start fighting, a failure to find a positive future for both sides in a dispute. Politics is not a game. It's not a joke. It's not a cheeky route to make your mates rich. It's deadly serious. And healthy, serious politics depends on having a society with a healthy, serious public discourse, and a society who elect politicians who can live up to the immense responsibility of the power that we give them. So yes, there are urgent humanitarian issues that need attention right now. And I've left some links below to major organizations that support refugees around the world. But also, those of us who are not directly involved must step up our efforts to build a healthy sense of global solidarity between all of the people of the world, a global peace movement pushing for multilateral disarmament. And underpinning any such global community, we need healthy, meaningful dialogue so that we can understand each other's hopes and fears. We must ensure that dialogue is successful so that war can be avoided. So even though it is a tiny drop in that huge ocean, that is why I will continue with this channel, on which I hope to explore this crucial question of how we can develop healthy public discussions within our societies and indeed globally. As for Ukraine, I will continue to hope for an immediate ceasefire and peace talks. But failing that, then I hope the Ukrainians successfully repel Putin's invading army. All our lives will be safer if Putin loses this war without it going nuclear. We need global solidarity and global peace.